All right, so now that we defined the scope, now that we defined the keywords, now is the time that we are actually going to research the idea. Now we are going to start to make it more visible. So before building anything, let's woo our idea, become familiar with it. Like it's like a courtship. Let's see what about it attracts us. Because thinking about it, this is a long-term relationship we're going to build with this idea. So we need to be in love with it. We need to fall in love and we need to stay in love with the idea. So everything we build or don't should be things that enhance the idea that we pick. So now that we have the keywords, let's start our research. And it's time to start researching the possibilities. So very simple, look for images that represent aspects of your idea and will help you develop a strong mental picture of the environment. Things like travel photos, concept art, art books, Google Maps, Google Images, start researching places. Maybe you find some cool photography website where some photographer takes pictures of specific things that speak to you. And start to identify individual elements, like things such as architecture style, material surfaces, colors, shapes. Make sure that these all fit towards your keywords. So here's a list of some places to take inspiration from. Honestly, inspiration is all around us, like online and offline. When you're walking around, when you're traveling, when you're just in your city, always be observing the environment around you. I'm sure you're gonna find some unique inspiration anywhere you go. Maybe there's some cool churches in your town that you can visit with some cool architecture. Like maybe there's some unique place that no one else made before. And those, I think, are the best sources of inspiration, like the places where we were actually there, at least as a starting point, because then we can feel those places, we can touch them. And that helps us to get to this immersive level better. So your passion, your interests, like that's one of the best places to take inspiration from. So things from your childhood, old drawings that you made, the place you come from. Like a lot of people, like it might be familiar to you, but imagine someone who lives on the other side of the world. They never saw anything like that. Like for them, it's gonna be unique. So, what are the elements of the place you come from that make the place unique? Places you visited during trips, amazing source of reference. Movies, books, myths, history, classic art. You're watching movies. This stuff is inspiring you. Google Maps is an excellent resource because you can go anywhere in the world. There's one caveat, because the pictures in Google Maps, they're very mechanical, because it's a car that drives around taking pictures, right? So I think it takes away a lot of the artistic sense of the place. So just keep this in mind, like if you only base your things on Google Maps, you might run into a problem that things look a little stale because of that. Like photo stock websites are great places, like istock.com, like Getty Images, because those pictures, they already have some artistic filter. So like if you search like Spanish Town on Google and then you search Spanish Town and Getty Images, you're gonna get very different results. Games, if you see, like I put games like quite low on this list because I just want you to challenge yourself, and make something that maybe no other games made before, but it's totally cool to take inspiration from games too. Like we're all gamers, right? And really last place on the list is other environments. You can take inspiration from other environments, but be careful not to plagiarize. And I think it's a little dangerous if you're only making stuff that other people made before. If you're a beginner, that's totally fine because you're learning, right? So that removes a lot of the thinking you have to do. But the more advanced you are, the more you should steer away from making what other people already made. Because I imagine that you want to stand out, right? You don't want to just be another fish in the ocean. You want to have a value. You want to be seen, like you want to be respected. So the best way to do this is by making unique works that are beautiful, that are, like appealing, that are, like impressive and unique, and things that other people haven't necessarily seen before. So ArtStation and social media. I want to talk a bit about this. So be careful when drawing inspiration from social media and ArtStation if you want to stand out. Looking only at what other people are doing creates a sameness and conformity and locks you down in a comfort zone, where you can only really do what others have done before. So if you spend all your time just looking what's new on ArtStation or just browsing Twitter, like just that's your main place of inspiration, that might lead you to work on these fad themes, the thing that everyone is making at the same time. And there's always I noticed these trends over time. They usually last like a year and a half, 2 years, where a lot of people are making the same theme. And what it does is you might get a lot of reactions, you might get a lot of likes, you might get a lot of comments, but maybe you're not going to get results, which is job offers, like winning like challenges or whatever it is that your objective is. Because if you just follow what other people are doing, like your work is going to be similar to other people. So it might be that you appeal to those people that are making the same thing, but it might be that the people that are outside that little bubble, they might look and be just like, oh, that's just another environment. I've seen like hundreds of those. And if you want to develop your own style and strong confidence in your work, I strongly suggest to limit your exposure to these platforms. What we absorb is what shapes us as an artist. So if you open ArtStation first thing in the morning and you see what's new, like every day there's going to be lots of high quality works there. And that gives you a false impression that it's easy to make things, because if there's so many high quality works, it's easy. And why can't I make that too? But the truth is, it takes a lot of time to make those works. But because the ArtStation has an algorithm that chooses what should be on the front page, and this algorithm is, I don't know how much human interaction there is in there. Like, I'm just saying, like, if you spend a lot of time in that, it might cripple your creativity a little bit. So definitely a great tool, definitely a great place to post your work and get recognition, but be careful spending a lot of time in these places. So what are some examples of themes that will work very well with this tutorial? Because I'm telling you to come up with your own theme, and I'm saying that this workflow is kind of universal and it works for all kinds of themes, right? But let me be clear, like what are some themes that will work very well with this tutorial, and then some that will not work so well. So anything urban, small villages, sci-fi cities, medieval town, castle, ruins in the jungle, slums, industrial complexes, abandoned towns, a western town, like anything along those lines is gonna work well. Like things with buildings, things with ground, like things with like a vista, like any of those things are gonna work well. And what are some themes that will not work so well with this tutorial? Like anything too organic without any architecture, like a forest, like a cave, or like Antarctica ice sheets, like I'm gonna be talking about buildings, I'm gonna be talking about this kind of stuff. So if you want to make a forest with some rocks and stuff, like I'm not sure if this tutorial will be the best one to accomplish that, but you're free to give it a try. And anything too exotic in general, like unless you're very advanced, don't pick anything exotic. Pick something that's relatable, that's easy to understand. So what is the assignment for this before moving forward? Build a nice collection of references that are related to your keywords, and take as long as you need on this. And here's a special tip. Create a folder with 5 or 10 pictures that best represent your idea. And then you can have subfolders with all kinds of references that might be useful. So it might be that you have, like very clear idea, but then you want to mix up some other elements, and just make sure you don't have a lot of conflicting images in this folder. And things to look for: recognizable and iconic shapes and surfaces, like interesting things that catch your eyes, maybe something that people haven't done before. Like, look for those things and you should be good to go. And as a quick reference, I want to show you the reference folder that I built for the Spanish town over time. So a lot of pictures from like the stock photos, like Alamy stock photo, because look, this picture already has an interesting composition. Like if you go to this place in Google Maps, it's not going to have an interesting composition. And with the picture, I can see the color of the sky, like how bright the walls get, and like all these elements. So I just saved a ton of references. But look how they're all related to each other, right? Like they have different pockets, but all these pictures, they speak to each other. They're from different towns, different places, and I didn't use all of these ideas, but just look at this, like they all have the same vibe. Like look at what I was talking about with the keywords, about something that's more rough, like not so well constructed, all those things. And then I have subfolders, like for example with ideas for the backdrop. So this is from a completely different town, and I used these rocks as a reference to make the rocks, and this is the vista that I was going for. I didn't recreate this like one-to-one, but I took the idea from there. Some of these, like they're not necessarily what I use it, but they're still there for reference. And little things like this that I really wanted to build and I didn't have time. This little cafe, the back alley, I had specific pictures. So yeah, like props, here are some of the props that I saved, like flowers, and I didn't get to do this one, but I thought it was a cool little like a notice board. I also wanted to make cables, and I didn't have time to make a lot of them, but I saw this in Google Maps and I just took pictures of them. So yeah, take some time and do some research, like this might take you days, it might take you a week or two, but take the time to do a good research. This will be very helpful in building this environment.